Bienvenido, David Zayas, to Gracias Come Again.
Muchísimas gracias.
I am so happy you're here today.
Me too. I'm glad.
I got to shout out Ahmed off the rip because he was like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this happen. I was like, did he answer? Did he read your message? And he was like, nah. And then he hit me. He's like, good news. We got David. And I was like,
awesome.
I was going to Dominican Republic, and that just put me like in a totally different space. I went to Dominican Republic happy,
Nice.
knowing that when I got back, I was going to sit across from you.
Yeah, no, well, it was, I saw James on the show, and then I saw Elizabeth on the show, and I was like, yeah, I would love to go.
And you were
on.
like, you know what? If they already tested it out.
Well, it's not. It's just that I'm terrible with messages and stuff. So I know I got Ahmed sent me something a while ago, a few weeks.
Oh, you
ago.
mean like replying to messages?
Replying to messages. Sometimes I just miss them.
Listen, you're living life.
Even my family's like, yo, I texted you, 2 months ago. What's up? We're cousins. But it's just, so I'm glad I was able to, look at it, find it.
Ahmed was persistent. I wasn't letting up.
Right.
Listen.
Well, I'm glad because here I am.
Because I did James. No offense to James, but I did James because I loved you on Dexter.
Oh, thank you.
When I saw him on screen, I said, wait, hold on. Who is this guy? And how is he so amazing at this? But we're going to get into James a little bit later. Puerto Rican?
Sí.
Born in Ponce?
No. I was born in New York.
What? The internet deceived me.
I tried to change it and it doesn't. I was born in New York. Then when I was a baby, we went to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And then I came back to the Bronx right before school. And I spent the first part around the Hunts Point area.
Hunts Point area.
Yeah,
so la Candela.
Yes, in Candela. And then when I went to high school, we moved to the Soundview section.
Okay.
And that's where I went to high school, and then until I left the house.
You're a Bronx boy.
Now, and I still live in Riverdale with my wife.
Really? I love that for you. So it's genuine. It's not like I'm talking to somebody from the Bronx that is now.
Yo soy un puertorriqueño que vive en el Bronx.
100%.
Yes,
He's like, mira, yo voy a Hollywood, hago mi proyecto y vengo para el Bronx. I
That's
love
it.
that.
That's my home. Yeah, it's great.
I know that you're in the Bronx Hall of Fame or Walk of Fame. They have something like that, right?
Yes. Wow, that was about 11, 12 years ago. I got onto the Bronx Walk of Fame. What a wonderful weekend that is. It was like really cool. And
it was just recently.
Well, it's every
Again,
year.
Yeah, they did Judy Torres. That's why
Judy Torres.
I did the research and then I saw you
How
were
great
there.
is she? Have you interviewed her?
She's amazing. She's down the hall. She works here too.
Yeah. Is she? That's right. I did this project called Freestyle.
We're gonna talk
in the
about
Bronx. Oh, you know it. Okay.
We're definitely gonna talk about it.
But I've seen Judy's just great.
Now you said you lived in the Bronx till you left your house. Where did you go? At what age did you leave your house? Because I remember before we would leave our house 18. Now it's 35.
No, I graduated high school when I was 17, and then I went to like one semester of college.
What college was
Iona.
that?
I went to Iona College in New Rochelle, and just for a semester, and then I was like, at that time, I said, it's not for me, and so I joined the Air Force. So I left my house when I was almost 19. I joined the Air Force. I spent 4 years there. I went overseas. I served in the UK. This was in the early 80s when there wasn't much going on. There was no internet. There was no beepers. There was nothing. So it was an interesting period living abroad and experiencing life on my own, and it was fantastic. And then I got out. I think it was 85, and I had 2 kids. I had, I was married. I had 2 kids with a previous wife, and
from when you were in the service.
Well, I met her when I was in the Bronx before I joined the service, but we wound up getting married, and we had two kids early, young, and I needed a job. And when I was 16, I took the police test. And the corrections test and the fire department test.
Who said you should do all that? Tell me.
My dad.
Claro que sí.
My dad said, one day I went up to him and said, Dad, I want to be an act. I couldn't get it out. So I want to be an act. And he goes, son, take the police test.
Civil service exams are coming up?
A city job is great. He was a sanitation man.
Oh, really?
So,
that's amazing. My husband retired from sanitation. Right. I have a soft spot for DSNY forever and ever.
It was a great job for my dad. And then, I needed that. I was on the list. They called me while I was in the Air Force, so they kept me in the top.
Who called
of the
you?
list.
Sanitation called you?
No, the police department.
Okay.
And I needed a job, so I wound up being a NYPD. Wasn't quite, what I really wanted to do. And when I was about 28, 29, I was like, I'm gonna try acting.
You were like, esto no es para mí.
Yeah, well, it's just
You knew what you
still
wanted.
did it for like 8 years after I started acting.
Oh,
Because
really?
I was
How
kids.
did
I
you
had
juggle?
to.
How did you juggle this?
When you're young, you don't need as much sleep. So I used to work a midnight shift, and then during the day I would go to class, or I would go do a play in the evening, or I would shoot a show during the day, and then go to work at night. And I had a lot of good partners that really helped me out, and they were very accommodating. And it was, there wasn't during that time. It wasn't like, oh, this is gonna be hard to do. I was just, this is what you got to do.
You thug it out.
That's what you got to do, And if I sleep 2 hours one night, that's the way it goes, inside. But I needed to get to where I needed to get to.
Do you remember the moment that you were like, I gotta act, I gotta figure this out?
It was. I went to see a play on Broadway. I went to see A Few Good Men. It's like, I think it was 1989, 1990, something like that. And
That was also a movie, right?
that was a movie. But before it was a movie, it was
Okay.
a hit Broadway show.
Got it.
And I went to see it, and I'm watching it. I was fascinated. I was like, I feel like I can do this. And I was so excited when I got out of that theater. It was just an electricity that came over me. And I went and I bought, at that time, it was this, I don't even know if they still have it, Backstage magazine.
Oh, I remember Backstage.
Yeah, Backstage magazine.
It's a website now, I think. Yeah.
It's a website now, yeah. And I said, well, what? And I selected an acting school. I went to the acting school. It wasn't really for me. I went to another acting school, and my first day in class, boom, I said, this is what I'm going to do.
You knew right away?
I knew right away. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
It lit that fire in that ass?
Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do this. I knew right there in that first day of class that this is my passion. This is what I wanted to do.
Is that around the time of the LAByrinth Theater?
Right before the LAByrinth Theater.
Okay.
That was about a year before the LAByrinth Theater started, because then I started trying to do as much as I can in anything,
With acting?
with acting, like a play here and there, and try to just be involved somehow. And then they had auditions for, at that time it was called the Latinos Actors Base. It was called LAB.
Okay.
And it was like, John Ortiz, Paul Calderon, Gary Perez, and David Deblinger. They said, let's make a theater, because there was this play, Death in the Maiden, on Broadway, which is all Latin characters. It was cast by white actors, great actors, but they were white. And they asked them, why didn't you cast a play with Latinos? And they said, because we don't know any Latino actors in New York City, which I think,
But we were there. We just weren't together as a conglomerate.
Well, no, they were there. They just weren't sought out. Yeah, they weren't sought after. So we started this company, and then like a year into it, we said, you know what, let's include people that think like us, that represent New York City, that's multi-ethnic. And so we opened it up, and we called ourselves LAByrinth Theater Company.
I love
And we
that.
started, a lot of good people started from there. And
Yeah.
we're still so tight. That's the thing. 33 years later.
Yeah, that's something. I was talking about that with Daphne Rubin.
Yes.
And she was talking about the LAByrinth, and I was like, how are you guys still so tight? I feel like
We're still tight. I just saw Daphne the other night. Yeah, we're like very, because, and a lot of the people from LAByrinth have gone on to do very successful things.
Amazing things.
But we always like regroup. We always stay in touch. We always together, because they're family. We're all family now. Elizabeth Rodriguez is also another one. We're all just family.
how much do you feel that has contributed to the success of so many of you?
I think it's everything. I think, to me, if it wasn't for LAByrinth Theater Company, I don't know what I would be doing, but I wouldn't be. If you look back at the steps of my career, they all kind of stemmed through LAByrinth and through people I worked with, because it's all about the people you connect with and the tribe you get into. And I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for that, because all the plays that came out of there, working with playwrights like Stephen Alley Gigas, or directors and actors like Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Amazing.
and Judy Reyes and Luna Velez. We all. My wife Liza Colón.
Did you meet her through LAByrinth?
I met her at LAByrinth.
Really?
Yeah.
No, listen, LAByrinth is.
Yeah.
You owe everything to LAByrinth.
I owe a lot to it. Yeah, and I always. That's why I'm always supporting it and hoping the best that it continues. And so far, so good.
And it will. Regardless of the funding and what happens and what the ship, it's never going to cease to exist.
No, we'll figure it out somehow.
That's exactly what, I saw some news and it was like the funding, could it being pulled with the government? I was like, we'll figure this out.
And if you look back, there's only a handful of theaters that have lasted over like 33 years. Not too many. Most of them fold or they just, fade out. But we've stayed, vital. We've stayed, effective.
It's a staple of the community, and it's so many superstars have come out of there when it comes to the acting that I can't see that we would ever let it cease to exist.
Yeah, but knowing everybody, it keeps us grounded with our tribe. That we
and I love that. It's like you guys are a little gang.
Yeah.
A big gang, but a little gang.
Yeah, and then it turns out you do Broadway shows, you do TV shows, films, and there's always 2 or 3 of us.
Claro que sí.
In those those plays and those movies and
it's
TV
like when
shows.
I watched All's Well in New York.
Yeah.
It was Liza, it was Elizabeth, it was Daphne. I'm like, here it is, the trifecta.
Yeah. You had Felix Solis. You had a lot of really great actors that are in LAByrinth Theater Company.
It was an amazing project. Now, Liza, how did you two link?
Liza and I
were you friends or you clicked immediately?
We clicked right away as friends because we were with other people. But, and a couple of years went by. We just got together, and it's been fantastic ever since. We've been married 28 years.
That's solid.
Yeah, it's solid.
That's
28,
solid.
27, 28, yeah. So it's going good, and she holds me down. I hold her down. We enjoy all the aspects of life together. Her success, I'm so supportive of. I'm so happy for her and everything that she's accomplished. And she's very happy for me whenever I achieve any form of success. And
do you think two actors being married helped? Because a lot of times it's like you'll have someone, let's say like Jennifer Lopez, at the beginning, she would date like, a dancer or someone whose family had a bagel shop because I don't know, it just feels like if one person is the star and the other person just kind of plays the background, things might be a little easier. How was it, both of you being successful actors?
I think maturity has a lot to do with it. I think all the, I guess, the normal aspects of a relationship, whether it's, jealousy, whether it's, I think you work through that. I think Liza and I are unique in a way that we've never felt slighted because one of us got success. Everyone, she was very supportive of me when I started working and doing shows and television, and she was kicking butt in theater, winning all these awards in theater, and then when she got her break in television, I was just like,
you were like, that's my wife.
I want to be your plus one.
Claro que sí. And if one of us, with marriage, it's like if one of us wins, we both win.
Absolutely, but I think it's maturity has a lot to do with that. And every couple, every relationship is different.
Oh no, it is.
I could only speak to what Liza and I went through. So it's been very positive.
But 28 years is a long time, and that's why I ask. I'm like, how did this work? But congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Your children. Liza's amazing. The freestyle play, I was there, and I saw her moving around. And I'm like, this woman is electrical.
Sometimes I think she's a vampire.
I was like, what is this?
Because she ages backwards.
And I remember the writer or the director of the play was like, I want you to meet Liza. I want you to meet Liza. And every time we would turn around, she was like zipping by us.
Lydia Ramirez, one of the writers, and George Valencia.
George, that's who I was with. And we were talking, and he's like, you got to meet Liza. You got to meet Liza. And we just couldn't grab her.
Yeah, no, Liza is so easy to talk to and easy to get along with. She's very down to earth, and it's and she's a Bronx girl too.
Oh no, 100%. I'm pretty sure me and her will vibe out with
absolutely.
no
I believe
problem.
that, yeah.
Now with acting, when did you feel like this is big? Like, was it Oz, or at one moment did you feel like this is huge?
I think I never really
felt like that.
Never really felt like that. I always felt like whenever I got a job, I was like, now I got to earn it. Now I got to go and do the work.
Oh, you got to prove yourself.
Right. And every job, I still feel that way. If I get a job for tomorrow, I'm like, oh, what? I got to prove. It's like I got to prove. I got to step up. It's less expectation and more now, let's get down to it and let me just, do what I do. And I think that I think there was a moment where I was doing theater and I was doing guest spots on TV. I was still a cop.
Hold
And
on.
then I auditioned for this TV show called The Beat that was done by Tom Fontana and Barry Levinson. And Mark Ruffalo was in it. And I auditioned for a part, and they said, read this part. Go outside, take 20 minutes, and read this part, which was like one of the major supporting roles in the play. So in the TV show. So I went in, I auditioned, and miraculously I got it. So I would say like Tom Fontana is the one that got me on the map when it came to television and film. And he'll always be the guy that if he asks me to do anything, I'm just going to do it, because he's the man that gave me an opportunity. He didn't say, "Oh, it's just a cop trying to act." He actually saw what I was trying to do, and he cast me, and then he cast me on Oz, because after the Beat finished, he cast me on Oz, and I did Oz for about 3 years. And Enrique Morales, not a nice guy.
Well, but that show wasn't filled with nice characters, so I'm not holding it against you.
I used to work as a cop, midnight shift, get off, and then go play a prisoner during the day. It was just a great time.
Oh no, that show is iconic, and it's forever cemented. You would get HBO just to watch Oz.
Just to watch it, yes.
Because it was everywhere. It was just.
Well, it was the first dramatic show on HBO and television. Yeah.
Like I remember that was my father's show. My father was like, "I gotta watch Oz." And I was like, "I'm watching Oz too."
It was like sometimes you read the script, it was like, "Ooh, this is brutal. They're gonna allow this on television?"
It was a lot.
There was a lot of stuff, and but they did, and it really not only did it put me on the map with opportunities, but it also you're in a room with 30 other seasoned actors, and you're all in the same room because you're in jail in the show, right? So, and I'm just watching everybody do their work, and I learned. So it was like going into like
you were absorbing
a conservatory of acting, watching all these veteran actors, and how they're doing things, and I'm gonna steal that. Okay, I see what they're doing here. I see how they're working for the camera. And I learned a lot technically about doing television through that show. And then, Tom Fontana wrote some of the most amazing scenes that has ever been written in that show.
No, listen, the writing there was top tier. The acting was amazing, but the storylines were what hit.
Yes.
Were you still working as a police officer in Oz?
For the first year.
Where were you stationed? Like, what's your precinct?
Well, in the 80s, I was stationed in Manhattan North Task Force, and we mostly worked like in the 3-4 up in Washington Heights.
The Heights.
Yeah, and then when I started acting, I switched over to Midtown North, which is right there on 54th. And
claro que sí. You wanted to be in the theater district.
I wanted to be in the theater
You're
district.
not low.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I got there and I started, I had an opportunity to just be able to go and do other things there. And it worked out really well.
Were the homies at the station, they were like, how did they treat you? They were like, yo, so you're an actor and you working?
Listen, I would call what I've had was an unremarkable career as a cop. And as a cop, you want an unremarkable
That's how you want to
career.
go out, of course.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that I fired my weapon I never ever even took out in my 15 years as a
That's amazing. I love that.
Right. So, but when I started acting, they were like, "Oh, here's this guy trying to,
Hollywood."
Right. And it's not. And the weird thing was, I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it to just do something that was passionate to me.
Oh, you loved it.
And but they were all they used to come to my shows.
Oh,
They're
that's dope.
Very supportive, and I never had any bad intention from anybody in the police department.
So it's kind of like a brotherhood.
It was, and I got along with everybody.
And at the end of the day, I'm working with someone who's on TV. Why would I hate on you? I'm going to support you.
Yeah, no, but there wasn't. It was. I had nothing but love, nothing but support. I was very lucky.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, let's talk Dexter.
Okay.
Before we started, you said this was 20 years ago. How?
Yeah. We shot the pilot in 2005 in Miami. and that was 20 years ago. And then when the show got picked up, they moved it to Los Angeles, and we shot it there in Los Angeles with some exterior shots in Miami. And yeah, that was me coming in to audition for it, and just the right people being in that room that saw something in me to play this
Angel
character.
Batista.
Yeah.
Sergeant,
And,
was it?
well, I started off as a detective.
Oh, okay.
And then he became sergeant, lieutenant, and
De
now
todo.
he's a captain.
Is that how it ended?
Nope, that's how it is now.
Oh, that's how it is now. Yeah. We're talking Resurrection.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. And so.
But let's go back. Let's go back. Where did you audition for Batista?
In New York.
In New York?
I
Okay.
was actually in Toronto doing a film, I believe, shooting a movie. And my manager called me and said, "Yeah, I think there's this role you should come in." Because Toronto is a 45-minute flight. It's not that far.
Claro que sí.
She said, "You should come in. Are you working Friday?" I go, "No." Because you should come in and come and audition for this part, because this part is excellent for you. That's why it's always great to have a great manager. He's also one of my best friends, Andrew Tettenbaum.
Okay,
He's just one of the best. So he was like, "Yeah, you should come in and audition for it." And I was like, I got tickets to Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays, a game. I don't know if I want to fly in to audition. And so we ended the call. 5 minutes later, he calls me back because I really think he called me about 4 times. And
you were really thinking about staying for the baseball game?
Yeah. Finally, I said, "Well, I knew nothing about."
Yeah,
Dexter.
I know it's Yankees or an unknown role.
Yeah, exactly.
You know the Yankees.
So yes, and I'm a Met fan. Believe it or not, I don't.
Really?
Don't look at me sideways.
I looked down right away. Really, is this what he's gonna do? He's from the Bronx. He's a mess.
I know. I'll tell you why later if you want to know.
Oh yeah.
But I finally I said, all right, I'm gonna come in.
Fine.
And I flew in. I auditioned for Angel Batista, and I got it. Somehow I got it. I went and tested in L.A. for the role, and I got the role. And then we started in Miami in I think it was like September of 2005 or something like that.
Did you have to move to Miami?
No, it was just shooting the pilot in Miami.
Okay.
We didn't know if the show was going to get picked up.
Oh, okay.
We were just,
Hopeful.
They used to just shoot pilots, and depending on the testing of it, it determined whether it was going to get picked up in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But this one did. I mean, I had, everyone was a little skeptical.
Yeah, I was going to say, what were your thoughts when you finished shooting that pilot? And you said, okay, everyone, see you later.
Well, first of all, it was a great show, great script.
Oh, no, it's an amazing show.
We have some of the best actors on the show.
The Dexter verse would have killed me if I didn't reel you back and talk about Dexter.
Yeah. And so we were shooting in Miami. We had a great time, but it was during Hurricane Katrina, which didn't hit Miami, but it had enough tropical storms to stop shooting for a while. And then after the show, if the show was going to get picked up, they decided to shoot it in Los Angeles. So
it looked like Miami. I've lived in Miami.
Yeah, they shot in Long Beach,
job.
but they also shot in Miami as well.
Oh,
you know, but most of the studio was in
where
Los
the
Angeles.
precinct was that Miami? I just never felt like Miami. I was like, this is the only thing I always
Los
questioned.
Angeles.
I was like, this cannot be Miami. It's on the water, but it cannot be.
No, well, they had exteriors in Miami that they
Oh,
shot,
yeah, for
but
sure.
then the magic of movies and the magic of television
Is in La La
can make
Land.
it exactly.
Now, as far as Dexter goes, did you think that it was going to go this long? As long as it went? What did you guys do? 7, 8 seasons?
We did initially 8 seasons,
Yeah.
and we ended in 2013. 8 years later, they kind of they renewed it they rebooted it for current times up in upstate New York, which was Dexter New Blood. Right, so they did the New Blood, and then they asked me, "Would you want to come back as Angel Batista and do a couple episodes?"
I was so mad at you in New Blood when you I was like, what are you doing? Let Dexter live. Come on, Batista, don't play.
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't even get to meet him in New Blood.
I mean, what you was about to do, though, I was like,
Well, I mean, wouldn't you?
I don't know, because it's like you have this love-hate relationship with Dexter. It's like,
But if you have a relationship with, like, whatever, you have friendship with, Ahmed, let's say, right? And the friendship lasts about 20, 25 years. And all of a sudden you find out that he's
alive?
He's a serial killer. And he's been killing people that you've been investigating together. And then one of those victims was your ex-wife. You know, and so that's gonna hit you.
Okay, now it's all coming. Yeah.
There you go. Then it's gonna hit you. You know.
Yeah, no.
So it's one of those things.
I'm over here, kind of like segmenting it, like, oh no, he only killed people who deserved it. But now that you mentioned,
well, he did. I'm like, okay, I would say he did. Kill people that followed that code. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of innocent people that died because of him. You know, so it
the was, homie. What was the homie's name? The other detective that was onto him early in the game.
Oh,
the black
Dokes.
guy. Oh my God! I was like,
surprise, motherfucker. Yeah, he's great. He was so fantastic.
He was another one whose acting was just so amazing. I was like,
yeah, and he's a tremendous Eric King. He's a tremendous actor. I worked with a lot of great actors on that show.
You have, you really. Lauren Velez, you knew her from before.
Well, she was part of the LAByrinth Theater Company, and I knew her before. I had done Oz with her.
You all call her Luna, right?
Luna, that's, yeah.
Because somebody's like, oh, you look like Luna. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like,
Luna,
they're like Lauren. I'm like, okay.
Luna. And,
oh, yeah, she was in Oz. She was
on Oz. She was Dr. Nathan on and,
Oz. The nun was Rita Moreno?
Rita Moreno.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now when you
the legend.
Well, yeah. I can't just say Rita Moreno. She's the legendary, the icon.
Yes. One of the best.
No, for real, man. She paved the way. She really paved the way.
But Luna and I, we were already pretty close, and we've worked together, and we loved each other. We were just like, she was like my sister. She's just. Have you met Luna?
No, we've never met.
She's just wonderful as a human being.
That's what I've heard.
She's just a wonderful human being. She's very talented. She's got a great work ethic, and I like hanging around Luna. So
she was everything to me in New York Undercover. I was like,
yeah, she was great.
To see yourself.
I Like It Like That.
Oh my God, I Like It Like That.
Yeah.
Wow, that movie. Yeah. I was young as hell, but I remember watching that movie. And
I wasn't that young. She got to bring up.
No. Listen, because it's like, should I have been watching them? But I'm thinking back. But no, that movie was in the 90s.
That movie was in the early 90s.
Early 90s, and I remember I'm like, this is a lot. But I loved it.
Yeah, it was really a great movie, and great people in it. John Sater is in it.
Oh, he's amazing.
Elvis Nolasco.
Super cute, yes.
A lot of good upcoming Latino actors that really stepped up. And
now that they brought Dexter to Netflix, do you find yourself like in a whole new wave? Like,
yeah, since it's been on Netflix, you know what it is now? It's like 18-year-olds now.
Yeah.
That weren't even alive.
That's the
when
wave.
We started, or then they couldn't watch it because they were too young. Now they're starting to watch it, and they're into it. And so sometimes in the street or in the subway, they look at me and they're like, they don't know because I'm a little bit older now, and I have gray hair, and I used to have jet black hair back when we started.
And you don't have the Batista outfit because the clothing for Batista was like a big thing.
It was, and I always careful what the hats that I use, David, now because I don't want, it's like,
you don't want to feel like you're out in character.
Yeah, kind of. I just want to be just normal guy, just out there trying to, So, but that the there's certain things. There's the clothes, the goatee, but there's also something about certain lines that I had in the first season that I've forgotten about, like La Pasión, right? When that first came out, people wearing T-shirts and yelling out in cars, La Pasión. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, Pasión? What? All right, is that? Are they? What? And then they say, oh no, that's from. And then they started showing clips on TikTok, and I'm like, wow, that was just one. That was just like 5 minutes of one day in the pilot that I shot, or this was second episode,
and it goes viral.
But it goes viral years later.
Yeah,
and that's what's you have no control over. And not that I'm complaining. It's great to be associated with anything that people are connected to, in regards to the show. But sometimes it takes you by surprise. And you're like, wow, okay,
It's like you got. The new generation Alpha, Gen Z, they're all watching. They're watching Friends, for God's sake. I'm like,
that's right.
They're watching Friends,
and some of them even watching Oz.
Oh,
they're watching Oz, and that's not as well. You can still find Oz on Max. If you go into series and stuff, you can.
I love it. It's your body of work will forever exist. Like, how amazing is that? You know, because some people live their entire life and their entire career day in and day out. They work 40 years and then that's it.
Yeah.
We could watch you forever. Your children can just turn on the TV.
Yeah.
You know, when
My
you're gone one day,
grandchildren,
your grandchildren be like, I want to watch Abuelo. I want to watch Papi.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's like you're leaving behind a body of work that is your legacy.
Right.
I'm pretty sure you know this already, but I just felt like I wanted to say that.
Thank you. I think, it's like sometimes I've had to, at least for me, I have to stop and think about, of what I've done. You have to like sometimes stop because I don't really think about that. I think about what's next, or I think about what I'm doing at the time. And that's what I'm like kind of like polarized to do. But sometimes it's good to stop and look back and, understand how lucky I've been and the opportunities that that have been available to me. And yes, you got to work hard. You got to have a great work ethic. You got to be, use kindness and affect people and, but it's just hard to like, pinpoint all that while you're doing it.
Because you're just living.
You're just trying to get the character. But to go back and then look at the great people that I've worked with, because I don't care what anybody says in here. You don't do it alone.
Oh, never.
You never do it alone. It's like I've been lucky to work with some fantastic actors and directors and writers and that have just nourished my artistic expression. And it's just really so I got to look back and and appreciate that. And everyone should do that, but that's hard to do.
No,
it's hard to do. You got to be humble too. Humility goes a long way, but with that humility comes not looking at what you've done in the past, and just being present and being effective now and present and in the future.
That is absolutely beautiful. Now, who do you watch on TV? What do you watch on TV?
I watch everything.
Like,
I watch everything. I watch as many movies as I can. I watch as many old movies as I can. I go back and look at like Latino artists. Like my first play ever to watch, I was 14.
Was what?
And I went to Lincoln Center to see this Kurt Weill period piece called Three Penny Opera. And I went into Lincoln Center with my class, and I had never been to the theater before. And the play starts, and it takes place in I think in the 1800s, and these guys come out and these amazing. And then this man comes out. He glides out into the stage, and he starts talking this very classical language.
We're talking Shakespeare type of thing?
We're talking not Shakespeare, but it wasn't Shakespeare, but it was just a classical way of speaking. But I noticed, man, he sounds like my uncle. And he had a Puerto Rican accent. And it was Raul Julia.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, Raul Julia. And I just was fascinated because, he's from where all my family's from and where I'm from. And he speaks the way they speak. And his mannerisms are similar, And I was like just engaged in someone that kind of like sounded maybe, like me and had that kind of culture on stage doing this. And it opens up possibilities in your head. Like, I think I would love to do that. I could do that, And so, yeah, so it's just I watch everything. Every movie I could watch, I watch because I just love this expression of film, theater, music. I'm very into going to see as many plays as I can. So I'm very. I think it's really important and helps you as an actor to do that.
Did you catch the Buena Vista Social Club?
Not yet, but that's next on my list.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, to say the least.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Real Women Have Curves. Did you go see Justina Machado?
I've not seen Justina Machado because I've been shooting every day on the new Dexter Resurrection things.
You've been busy.
It's been busy, but I'm gonna catch them both.
Yeah.
But I've always admired people from where I'm from, like Benicio del Toro and John Ortiz, and a lot of these great just Puerto Rican actors, and a lot of Puerto Rican actors that I know that are fantastic, that haven't had that opportunity yet. But I know that they're fantastic actors, and it warms my heart to see that.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Do you go back?
I go back. I went back last year. I go back as much as I can. I actually.
Do you have family there?
I have family there. I have a lot of cousins there.
Where?
And,
Where are they?
Well, in San Juan,
Okay.
Arecibo, in Ponce.
Ponce.
And
Donde me dijo
around.
Google que tú naciste.
Yeah, which just what. But it's my grandfather's from Carolina, and I have a lot of roots in Puerto Rico, and I go there, and sometimes I meet cousins I've never met. I'm like, oh, and I see the resemblance. I see, the speech pattern. I see the mannerisms, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense.
How in tune are your kids with their heritage? They listen to Bad Bunny?
They do. I listen to Bad Bunny.
You listen to Bad Bunny.
Right.
I want to try it. I'm like, should I ask him if he likes Bad Bunny?
My man is the best. He's his representation of.
How brilliant is that?
He's just brilliant, and he brings it to the level of somebody like my age, and then the youth that I think he's one of the most brilliant artists.
He really is.
And I mean, I've never met the young man, but I would like to one day. But I find him.
You gonna dap him up for the great work he's out here doing?
Yeah,
bro.
I find him amazing, and I listen to that.
The way he's forcing, the world to just take notice of how amazing Latinos are and Puerto Rico is.
Yes.
He deserves a check from all of us. Like, we should put our money together and just pay the man. Because, what was it? What would he do? Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, and he does
that
a lot.
That was amazing.
He does a lot for the island as well. It's really he's a great example of someone who is proud of his heritage and where he's from.
And he's not afraid to speak up. When he brings to light, the gentrification, everything that's happening in Puerto Rico, he did a short film. I watched it.
I saw it.
You saw
video,
it?
Yeah, with the coqui.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
How
brilliant.
amazing was that?
I saw it with my granddaughter.
Oh,
we sat down, we watched it together in my daughter's house, and with my granddaughter who's 11. And I thought about it. I was like, how cool it is. We're like watching something that, that she just learned something new about Puerto Rico. And I learned something new about Puerto Rico, and it's like it's just 50-year difference, right? So it's really an amazing. He's an amazing artist, and I'm sure there's a lot of amazing artists like that in Puerto Rico.
100%,
coming out, and they'll have. This will help them get opportunities to show the world who we are.
When the whole reggaeton thing happened, were you outside with the reggaeton movement? I'm talking Tego Calderón, Wisin y Yandel, Daddy Yankee.
I knew of them.
¿Tú andabas en la calle o no?
No, I was like,
Come on.
I was
you
like,
weren't partying?
yeah. Well, I didn't party much. I worked a lot.
Oh,
I had a lot
on,
of.
David,
I mean, I partied some, but I worked a lot, and but I remember all that time.
El movimiento in New York, it was huge.
Yeah, it was huge. Same thing with the freestyle. Right?
Oh yeah.
So
we can take it back one step, but now that we talk about Bad Bunny, who is an extension of reggaeton,
right.
I remember when it was like Tego Calderón, Don Omar, Daddy Yankee, Wisin y Yandel. Like, what happened here in New York? It's like we were here, but it was like we are really here, and we had Club Exit, La Casa del Perreo, like in Midtown. I don't remember what. Huh?
56th Street, right?
Yeah.
And I responded there a lot during my.
Oh, okay. No. I thought you were gonna say yo perrié mucho ahí.
No. I
just messing with
remember
you.
a lot of. I mean, I went there a couple of times, but I remember that club, and it was always packed. That I do remember. So I mean, it's that
was huge. I felt like for me it was just like I'm born and raised in New York. And, it was always like black, white, Latinos existed. Like, I remember as a child, I'm Dominican. And they were like, oh, you're Puerto Rican. Like, it wasn't even like a thing. Like, I'm like, no, I'm Dominican. Where is that? I don't know what that is.
You know what's great about Bad Bunny also is that it's not just Puerto Ricans.
It's not.
We realize that los dominicanos, los cubanos, los puertorriqueños, we have that same Caribbean blood.
Todito.
It's like,
Somos uno.
Yeah, exactly. Caribbean, African, there's Taino. There's so many. We're from so many different cultures that Bad Bunny brings his music where everybody is like, they're all like in the same level. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's fantastic that he can do that, and very few artists in our generation will be
I
able
think
to
he
do
did
that.
like 10 shows in Mexico for his new tour. He had to open up so many shows. I'm like,
They lost their minds.
I'm
I
like,
read
Jesus
that,
Christ, the
yeah.
Mexicanos really, really love Bad Bunny. And it's crazy that you bring that up because it is true. And at times I've been asked, like, aren't you afraid of, kind of like gearing towards the Latino content? And I'm like, absolutely not. Do you understand how many countries speak Spanish? Yo tengo Venezuela, tengo Chile, tengo Peru, tengo la República Dominicana, Puerto Rico. Never. That's who I am.
Wherever we are, we belong there. And you know what I'm saying? So it's not the whole thing. Oh, no, I never considered myself a minority. I'm here. I'm going to kick the door down.
Boom.
And this is who I am. But it's like I never really looked at me in this world, whether it's the acting world or even in the police department or in the Air Force. I never felt like I was, I was a minority that got an opportunity. I earned that. I worked hard and I did what I had to do. And I think most people do that. And so I always have a little bit of hesitation when they start talking about, you're a minority. No, man.
No.
That's just why I'm here.
Can we talk about that just a little bit? I was at a gala and, a lot of people were speaking, about their experience as a Latino. And I don't know. I felt so disconnected because I'm like, I don't know. I've always felt so proud and I've always felt so big. I don't know if it was a New York thing because here in New York, Latinos, we're just like, yo soy Latina. I don't care.
That's it. Right.
And we're talking about, all the struggle and how, being a Latino kind of like, didn't grant them the opportunities, I guess.
But they're right. It is a struggle.
But I felt so like, why don't I feel more connected with the struggle? Is it because I fought so hard against it?
No, I think the struggle is when you don't know anything else other than that, then it's what it is. It's not. I don't. There is a lot of Listen, it's you got to be really. The racism is real.
Oh, 100%
right?
It is. And I'm pretty sure I've experienced it a ton of time, but I fought back.
Well, me less than my cousin because, I got white skin, right? So it's a different thing. And you have to stay open and try to understand all the aspects of that, But I never felt I had to be different with anyone else in any other ethnicity. I'm who I am and they either accept me like that or I don't. I never saw it. For me, I never felt that it was a climb up. To me it's a climb up for everybody, especially in acting. You got it's a struggle. It's a grind for everybody. I never felt that it was more of a grind for me because I was Latino. So I think that it's really
and
necessary.
I feel connected with you, but sometimes I feel like not sensitive enough. I don't know. I know what I'm thinking.
I am very. I mean,
it's like it was a grind. It was a grind, but I never be like it was a grind because I was a Latina.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be, but I just with me, I just couldn't think that way. But yeah, I hear. Listen, it's hard out there.
Listen, we from New York.
Yeah,
if it's gonna be a grind, there's gonna be a grind here.
It's gonna be a grind everywhere. Yeah, it's. I always felt accepted, and if I wasn't accepted, I intruded.
Oh hell yeah! Aquí estoy. Dime.
Exactly.
What we doing, right?
Exactly.
Give me my lines, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Have you always primarily played a Latino character? In Gotham, you were Italian, right?
I was Italian. Yeah.
Can I tell you I didn't recognize you? What did they do to you?
I gained weight.
Is that
No, I think it's like. I mean, it's Gotham, right? It's Gotham City.
So you kind of be a little distorted, right?
You could be a little, yeah. And it was
You didn't have hair, right?
I did have hair.
Yeah.
Not much. Like I still don't have much, but.
My bad.
No, it was. I shaved.
Okay,
I shaved, and I had these great suits, and you
were amazing, by the way. But I just
Thank
didn't
you.
know it was you. I didn't make the connection at the
Right.
beginning.
Yes, I had a great time doing that. That was fun. But yeah, no, I don't mind playing. In fact, if possible, if I get a role that's not, let's say, really is not on the page Latino, I want them to make him Latino.
Oh, okay.
Like
So,
I want to represent
and
in a
I thank you
positive way.
for it.
Like if my character, if I somehow lucky enough to get a character where I play, and if it's Dr. Murphy, I'm gonna say make it Dr. Rodriguez and make it Dr. Because I want somebody to watch, to like show, to understand that we all have the path to do what we want to do, and they're not going to be blocked just because we're Latino.
100%.
So if there's a character that is, I try to be now, I try to be very, just observant of the kind of characters that I would play.
Pick and choose.
Because I don't want to, because it all depends on who's writing it, what's it for, and I want to make sure that the representation is correct. I mean, he doesn't have to be a good guy, but I want to make sure that everything they show different layers of this character, and so I am, I do pay attention to some of the characters that I audition for or they offer to me.
And I thank you for that, because our portrayal and how we're seen on the big screen goes far and wide.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, back in the days, like when we were casted as, drug dealers, prostitutes, people in prison, like it kind of like warps the perception.
It does. And you know what? I don't mind characters that are drug dealers or that are murderers. Mm-hmm. I just want them to be represented truthfully, because everyone has a struggle. Nothing is just black or white.
No.
And it's very complicated. It's very layered. So if I have to play a drug dealer, if I have to play, it's got to. I need to see something of value in that character, and that's the thing. It's not necessarily what you play; it's how you play it and how it's written.
And that's amazing. That brings me to Orange is the New Black, and how, all the women were in prison, but we got to see the backstory.
Exactly. Yeah.
We got to see, with Elizabeth Rodriguez, her character at home.
Yeah.
With Dasha Polanco, her character at home. So Seleni's Leiva, like we got to see why they all ended up there, and we got to see that there is a soft side. They were mothers. They were, daughters and wives. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, they're human beings. It's like they have love in their lives. It's just not hate and violence. Mm-mm. They do have love. They do have compassion. And if you're going to play that character, I want to see that. I want to see that in that role, and that's why I loved it that Angel Batista was, written not without flaws, because he had a lot of stuff.
Oh, he had his shit with him.
But ultimately, it was genuinely honest.
He was a good guy.
He was
Deep
a good
down
guy,
inside, he was a good guy.
And he was, always looked for the best in people.
Well, that he did.
And that I appreciated. And they wrote a beautiful character based on that. Yeah.
No, Batista was my favorite character on Dexter. Dexter was amazing, but I just felt so identified, with you, with Lauren Velez, with just that whole dynamic. And I tell people all the time, they're like, I don't know what to watch. I'm like, have you watched Dexter? And they're like, no. I want to watch something for Latinos. I'm like, Dexter is for Latinos. Just get in it.
It's very multi-ethnic.
It is. Dexter is. It really is. And the music, it's crazy. The music, every time I be like, here's the salsa,
right,
here's the merengue.
And it was like, it's really, because I play a Cuban American.
Un cubano.
Of Miami. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk to all my friends that are Cuban, that are actors that I know, and just to get an essence of the difference being a Cuban from Miami or from being a Puerto Rican from New York. And
what they said,
it isn't that there aren't that many differences. Only culturally where you're at. The local culture is what I needed to like familiarize myself with, and then everything else is kind of similar. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful character to play.
Now, Dexter New Blood. How did this come about? Like, it's like Dexter was over, and then somebody decided like we need to bring Dexter back.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how.
I got to talk to James about that.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but the New Blood came out in 2021.
Okay, yeah,
right, and it was after the show had finished in 2013, and
were you surprised?
The brilliant. I was a little surprised. Yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought, after 8 years, you'd think it's not gonna.
Se acabó eso ya.
Yeah, and also it wasn't a thing then to just reboot shows as it is now.
As it is
because
now,
they
yeah.
have original ideas to do it, right? So it was like, when it came back and they asked me to be a part of it, I was ecstatic. I was like, yeah, and what is the update? Like, what's happened in the past 10 years to Angel Batista to try and bring that into the character in New Blood? And it was really interesting. I had a great time. I only shot the last 2 episodes, I believe, and then 4 years later, they called me. They're going, we're gonna have Dexter Resurrection. Would you like to be involved? And I'm like, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I was so happy when they brought it back. Because I don't know. I just felt like I was missing something. Does that sound weird?
No, it doesn't. I know what you're saying. I feel that way about, like many shows that I watch.
I'm like, why did this
when
end?
it ends, why did it end? Why did The West Wing end? I mean, now I got to put The West Wing and just to feel good about the political atmosphere of this, right? So it's really it's great. It's great that they brought it back, and you'll see this year it's going to be some really interesting moments. Yeah.
I'm so happy this coming. I'm telling everybody. I'm like, listen, guys, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
July 11th, I think, comes out on right Showtime, Paramount Plus.
Oh, I got everything. Don't worry about it because I need to stream anything and everything I want to watch at all times. How does that work with streaming? Like, is your contract different now versus like when you signed the first Dexter? Like, this is how much you get paid while it's on TV. Is streaming forever? I don't know the workings of this.
It's very complicated. I don't know really the exact details.
You just know you get
I don't
paid.
know if the residual aspect of streaming to, it's hard to.
I've always wondered.
Yeah.
Like when they play your show, like say Friends, I'm like, are they getting paid right now?
I think they are. It does. How much depends on the contract and what they.
Because remember, 20 years ago, streaming wasn't a thing.
Streaming wasn't a thing.
So
but DVDs and VHSs were.
Okay.
And that was a way of.
That's like a streaming?
Well, it wasn't a streaming, but it was a way to for residuals and for other other things that you would get compensated for. The streaming now, it's there's so many of them.
There is.
And
I'm going broke with them.
I'm kind of glad I could watch shows. I could go back and watch Homicide, Life on the Street, because of streaming, and or some shows that I would not like. I don't remember seeing Miami Vice so much when I was younger. Now I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, okay. I see the attraction of this show.
There's a new Miami Vice, right?
Well, there was a movie in 2006 that Michael Mann directed.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking.
That Elizabeth Rodriguez was in.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
And that was done, but no, Miami Vice ended in the 80s, I think. But it was fun to watch now.
You're thinking back. You're like, look at this, look at that. Now watching James play a young Batista. How was that? Talk to me. And I told him when we had I said, you know what? You had a whole cheat code. You had 8 seasons worth of David Zayas to watch and mimic. What did you think when you saw that first season?
The first thing I thought was, man, he's gonna be tired of seeing my face. He's gonna be watching me. He's gonna be like, trying to find.
You knew he got the role before it came out?
Yeah, when he got the role, that. The timing of it was we had a benefit for LAByrinth Theater Company. I think it was the 30th anniversary of LAByrinth Theater Company, and we had a party, like an event, and he come in, and I had known James from years back and just crossing paths, and I've done workshops with him. Always sweet and always really a good actor.
He's a good guy.
And so he came to me that day. And he told me, he goes, I got the part of Angel Batista, and I'm like, I was very happy because he's, I know he's a good actor. I was like, I don't know, we don't really look. If you really look hard,
no, you don't.
We don't look that much alike, but which is a compliment to him that he wasn't trying to imitate me. He was trying to see the characteristics of the character. and he found them, and with all the mannerisms, and some of those mannerisms we share. It's not like he made them up because he saw me. But watching it, I'm like, oh, okay. And my man did his work. He did his work, and he's represented. And I was really proud of him, and I was really happy that he got that opportunity.
Shit, I was proud of him. I'm like, is this AI? I didn't know what to make of it when I was watching it.
I know.
Like we were talking behind the scenes, and I was just like, immediately, I was like, is James Martinez David Zayas' son? Because I'm like, why does this man act just like this other man?
Right. No, that's him. I mean, that's
kudos to him.
That's his his talent. That's his talent, and that's him doing what he has to do for the role. And I was like very happy with his portrayal, and I think.
Christina Milian was amazing too.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah, she was dope.
And again, I remember just
Más
watching
Latinos.
the first episode of Original Sin, and I was like, oh, yeah. I was never as good looking as that guy, but
they did right by you.
They did right by you
because he's a good looking guy.
Yeah, he was great, and a good actor too, and also a really
good guy.
Good guy.
Overall, listen, James Martinez.
His family is great.
You solid on this side.
Yeah.
You got the cosign from David.
Yeah.
Got the cosign from me. You're a good guy.
I told him we need to do a project together. Because I would love that.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Now you're talking projects. Any of your children interested in acting?
My son, his name is David Zayas Jr.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but listen, David Zayas Jr. with Liza as a mom and you as a father. If he doesn't inherit that. Well,
he's a director now. My son is a theater director. He also works as my stunt double and my stand-in in Dexter. So he's there all the time.
Get out of here. I love this.
He's experienced a lot, even from way back when,
He grew up on sets?
He grew up on sets. He grew up in rehearsal rooms. Both him and my daughter, Liana. I had... when I started acting, I had gotten divorced for the first time.
Okay.
And so I had joint custody. And so whenever I had to go to an audition or a rehearsal, I'd have these two. I'd go, sit here. Don't bother any of the actors. I'm going to go in. And
no toquen nada. Vengo
right. Or during rehearsal rooms, if I got a play, there was an adult there. I was like, can you watch him while I do this scene? And so there was some interesting times. They experienced everything in this business. I didn't really shield them about anything. I told them, this is what's happening here. This is what's happening there. And they knew, they were very, well-adjusted, growing up. Even though when they came with me, they knew it was going to be kind of we didn't know what was going to happen. They might be hanging out till 1 a.m.
Listen, it's unpredictable what's going to go down today.
It was one of those, it was great. But my son grew up, my daughter... she has my 2 grandkids, which is Emerson,
Grandpa.
who's 16.
You have a 16-year-old grandchild? Never.
Grandson. And my granddaughter, Emma, who's...
It's a beautiful name.
Wants to be, I think she wants to be an actor also.
This is beautiful. I love it because legacy and passing down your talents and your knowledge is so important to me.
Yeah.
That's sometimes, like, I don't have children, and I was just having the conversation. I'm like, it sucks. Like, I'm not going to be able to pass down all this knowledge and all this, and you're able to do something like that. Like, what a blessing.
It is a blessing because, yes, I'm able to do that, but even if I'm not here, I'm able to do that by what they see and their experiences of when I was here, even though I'm talking past tense, but it's like what we do. We're around for a long time. I watch a Humphrey Bogart movie.
Oh, wow. I
watch Anthony Quinn, and they're no longer around, but I know who they were when growing up, and I was that's the one, it's a beautiful thing about what we do is that it's a legacy that lasts for a long time, and it affects other people, which is why it's so important to just maintain the honesty and the integrity of what you're doing now, And so, we're very lucky. And my daughter's Liana is a wonderful writer, also.
I love
so,
this.
They're very talented. And I was really the only artist in my family when we were growing up. Yeah, I come from a very blue collar family. So
you don't have to tell me anything else other than your father was DSNY and made you fill out the application. That's all I need to know to know the kind of household that you came from. But I want you to know, David, that we are super proud of you.
Thank you.
Your body of work is amazing. The way you've represented Latinos and the way you continue to represent Latinos. I wish I had a trophy to give it to you right now.
Well,
it's absolutely amazing.
Thank
and I want to
so
thank you so much, for taking the time out to meet with me today and to share your story with our audience.
It was my pleasure. I'm glad.
And you look good. Thanks for wearing the jacket. I love it. I said, he looks
I look
nice.
good. I'm going to go talk to Honey.
I said, he looks nice. He looks nice. I really, really appreciate it.
I was walking out, my wife goes, oh, you look good.
Share your
location.
I'm
going to go talk to Honey. Sorry.
Share your location. No, I really, really,
really
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. And it's I think this is an important thing to get out there and let somebody who may be starting in what we do to hear the experiences of, and you do it, and every guest that's on has really, the articulation of what they've gone through comes out blaring. And I appreciate you for that.
And these last 35 episodes, I've learned so much from every single person that sat in that chair.
Thank you.
Gracias. Come again.
I will. Gracias.